We are at the NEWH Houston trade show at the Hilton Americas today. We've got our panel right now. The trade show is going on from 1 to 6. We're in the ballroom on level 2. We've got $500 cash door prizes going on at 3:30 and 5:30 today, so make sure you make it out. Parking is free. And NEWH Houston has a fundraising event coming up on December 7th. Head to our Instagram and our Facebook for more information on that. And enjoy the panel. Thank you.
Go to the next slide.
Here we go. Pivot. 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 Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, I don't think it's going to pivot anymore. You think?
Hi, I'm Kip,
Hi, I'm Sushi.
and this is the NEWH panel discussion.
Yes.
What are we going to be talking about
We are going to
today?
be talking about pivoting a new hospitality perspective.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we're live on NEWH Houston Facebook page where we'll be taking questions there live. We have a studio audience. It's a packed house here at Hilton Americas. We're on the second floor today. On the third floor. But the trade show will be happening on the second floor.
Yes.
I hear
until
it's free
6 o'clock.
parking.
Yes, until 6 o'clock.
All right. So what's the definition of pivot,
The
Sushi?
definition of pivot by Merriam-Webster is a usually marked change, especially an adjustment or modification made as to a product, service, or strategy in order to adapt or improve.
Awesome. That is really good. So what we're going to do, we're going to meet our panelists and talk a little bit about their definition of pivot. So first up, Hyde Bar Bodie with Heights House Hotel. So Javar's with Heights House Hotel. And Javar, what is your favorite team?
Houston Texans.
Go Texans! All right. I love that. And to his left, y'all's right, is his business partner, George Giannukas. Did I get that right? All right. What's your favorite color, George?
It's like blue-green.
Blue-green. I love that color. It's kind of the in color right now, I think. Some of our color experts in the audience, I'm sure, will tell us. To his left, you guys right, is Gail McLeese with Sensatori. Gail, we're going to trick question here. What's your favorite sense?
Great. My favorite scent is patchouli when I'm working, and I really, really, really like, let me think, Mall.
Love them all.
How
about my cologne?
lavender when I'm on
Lavender.
yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. To her right, and her left, thank you for correcting me, is Lisa Pope Westerman. Thank you very much. You're with Lucid and Wellville Development. We're going to jump back to the color question. What's your favorite color?
I like to pivot my colors with the season.
I love that. You may not be able to see it, but she's got on some beautiful colors on her nails. All right. To her left, you guys right, is Rebecca Litwin with Down, etc. We're going to use the same question. What's your favorite color?
Periwinkle.
Periwinkle. I love that. I love that. So, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about pivot. These are our great panelists. Here in the audience, let's hear for our panelists. Packed house. So we're going to throw an easy one out there to each of you. We're going to start with Javar, go through, and then we're going to have a little discussion. We want to know, from a hotel perspective, you guys, what did you do during the pandemic to pivot, and what are you going to do to help your guests and operations?
Personally, I'm new to the industry, so we didn't have really a basis to go by. I felt like creating not only a hotel, but an experience play on site. You know, having things to do, having a guide, you know, having programs set up within the hotel, such as what we have. You know, you have your Ivy bar, you have your bikes and your scooter rentals, you have just anything that that people can go and experience, whether that's a staycation or come to Houston for the first time and wanted to know what's really going on out here.
And you have created a good experience operationally with your staff. Anything different you did, George?
Anything different than we did. As Javar mentioned, I'm also new to the industry. So we opened our hotel during the pandemic, during COVID. And one of the things that we see certain apartment developers do is they attempt to make their properties a lifestyle property. So I don't know how many hotels that's what they aspire to. That's certainly something that we focused on. So Jamar mentioned some of the things that we've done, but we've also added yoga on Sundays. We activated the restaurant bar and purposely designed it such that the community would come and dine there, as well as the pool that we've activated as well. So it's not just for the hotel guests, but it's also for the community. So it's another source of revenue and provides energy, and makes it that lifestyle property that we can.
I love that. Maybe a little DJ action at some point. Gail, same question, but a little bit different perspective.
Right,
You're now caught in the middle of trying to design, market yourself.
right.
What did you do to pivot your design concepts?
Design concepts were really going towards more, whoever really wanted to hire me at the time, because it was like, the hotel business.
Whoever has money, right?
Yeah, so, since I've been in the business for so long, I've had a lot of opportunity to work in the commercial side of things and also some wellness facilities, so, which is great because I opened my services up instead of just hospitality. I brought hospitality toward other practice areas, which was very beneficial to them and also to me. I've learned a lot, and I've also been able to, keep marketing and keep my business going.
I love that. We're going to do the same question to you, Lisa. You're doing a whole new concept of design and bringing to the market. Tell us a little bit about that, and then tell us how you pivoted during this.
So Lucid is a collective of designers across the country, and our main focus was service design in the hospitality industry. And we decided to pivot our kind of business strategy of what we were doing. So we added 2 arms to the business. We added a development arm. We decided to become the developers ourselves instead of waiting for more developers to kind of bring
Your
work
own
to
worst
us.
customer.
Exactly. And then we also decided to venture into product design as well. We have all this amazing talent that's a part of our collective. And so we decided, let's go ahead and start our own line of furnishings.
That's incredible. What a great way to pivot. And from a manufacturing perspective, Rebecca with Down, etc. Tell us.
So I think we really stopped and really focused on health and wellness. We used the word recalibration in our pivoting. So really looking at helping people look at the personalization and customization of having a great night's sleep. So really going from seed to sleep, but giving personal services within like a romance package, whether they could do something within the room that gave them a real sense of self and self-worth and recalibration.
I love that. That may be the word of the day.
I love that word.
Recalibration.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that.
Positive pivots, recalibration, all
Perfect.
wonderful.
Self-care.
So I do have a question for you guys, pivoting from that question, is do you think that these new business practices will remain, are they temporary or will they remain? Let's start with you.
I think that they'll remain. I think we'll also have a clear focus on hygiene. I think we're all really looking at not just washing our hands, the cleanliness of the bed, and really looking at the whole structure of that bed, decorative pillows that can be washed daily, just making sure that we have that sensibility.
Lisa, let's go to you.
I think it's more being more flexible in general in the industry, and so less specialization and people being more generalists and having specialized knowledge within a more of a generalist type of practice.
Love that. We'll go to you, Gail.
Well, for me, I think that my services had also pivoted to helping with other businesses in our hospitality industry. So not only was I doing interior design services, I was also offering business advisory services to other architectural firms, interior design firms, individuals, coaching, helping with processes. So I feel like since everybody took a step back, and some of the firms are not as large as they were before, a lot of people have been on their own, that those services are going to continue.
So George and Javar, I know this is a different and unique perspective since you all just started during the pandemic, but do you believe that the things that you sort of leaned into as you're opening are going to be things that will remain, or will you pivot into something more of a traditional way after?
Yeah, so I'll take it, and then Jabbar, you can follow on. So yeah, the Heights House Hotel, like I mentioned, we're focused on making it a lifestyle property, and I believe we'll continue to put investment dollars and energy into that, and activating other things to bring both the community to the property and provide activities for our hotel guests. On the operations side, we've seen hotels cut back on the amount of times they do room service unless it's asked for. Certainly we'll do it daily if the guest asks for it, but cutting back on that, and certain items that were replaced in the hotel room that I think we just realized weren't really needed. So I think those are some changes that'll stay to maintain costs.
Yeah, I think this industry is super competitive. I mean, there's a hotel on every block. We don't have the restraints of the corporate restraints of not being able to change and do things that, ideas that we come up with off the whim that we want to, create. So I think we'll continue to do that, and that's the only way we're going to be able to differentiate ourselves with every other product that's on the market.
And one word that came to mind with all their answers is nimble. I feel like they've all been nimble.
Nimble, and that's good because I'm going to pivot onto the next question, and I'm going to start. I'm going to recalibrate. So I'm going to start with Gail this time. And 2020 was a rough year for everyone. A lot of positive things came out of 2020. We learned a lot of things in 2020. But what was your biggest hurdle in 2020, and how did you turn a hurdle into a positive experience?
I would say the biggest hurdle was not being able to present my design concepts in person. So, we're so tactile, we're so visual. It was a difficult time to present. However, ordering double samples, shipping them to the client, and being on a Zoom call and showing the sample and having them touch and feel while I'm walking through it and showing the spaces was really helpful. I used Material Bank, and that was a lifesaver because I was able to get samples overnight. I was able to get products that was not readily available for me from a rep standpoint that would be in Houston, but from somewhere else, and I could get them just like that. So for me, the timeliness of that offering from Material Bank was amazing for my business, and then also the fact that I could order double samples and ship them.
That's good. So you turned that around. How about you, Rebecca? I'm going to skip over to you.
Thank you. I think the cost of transportation, just the increased cost of a container today is between $18,000 to $20,000, and really the cost of yarn, fiber, all of the increase in labor costs, the number of factories that have been closed, not just even in the United States, around the world, and then getting everybody back up to speed, again, recalibrating. How are we then going to do, what do you really need and why?
Got that. Lisa, add on to that.
Well, I was going to talk a little bit about time, right? Time before we didn't have any time whatsoever. And so kind of the lemons into lemonade that the pandemic did give us was more time to think and relook at the industry in general, even look at what was in our backyard. I'm sure lots of people here explored their own states and drove more miles than they ever did in their entire lives. And so for us, what we did with that was kind of take advantage of that and look at that and say, what are we missing in this marketplace? What could we do to give more back to our communities and to our areas so Wellville Development, we founded 75 acres halfway between Houston and Austin as this amazing place and space that we thought was perfect for hospitality, luxury destination that, didn't really exist that much before, and not a lot of people knew about it. And now everything's blowing up there, after the fact. So it's just, I think time and thinking about how to use your time.
I wrote that down, time. I'm trying to capture some of that. I'm hearing a lot of cost challenges. So guys, I know you all had some big hurdles because you just were opening your hotel, you're opening your services, but was there anything that surprised you that was something might have been negative that turned out to be super positive? Throw you on the spot here, guys.
Something that was negative that turned into a positive.
Or a big hurdle.
a big hurdle was, I guess, being empathetic to COVID and what that meant for each guest and how much we can pivot away from true, traditional hospitality service, like doing the turnovers and the room service and
Right.
moving coffee machines. I was like, why would I want to be at a place where I can get coffee in my own room, So these are all things that, it makes common sense for me to say, hey, what's COVID really how is that gonna affect me making coffee in the morning? To having to remove that to be more empathetic to the public.
Awesome. So before we go to sushi, and she's gonna ask the next question, I do have just a comment for our audience, our studio audience today. If you do have a question for our panelists, we are gonna have a Q&A session at the end. If you'll pass those questions over to Melissa here in the middle, she will bring those up and we'll ask your questions live and in person. Sushi, take it away.
All right, so this next question has to do with technology. We know technology is fast-paced, and especially during COVID, I think there was a lot of things that changed and upgraded. How do you feel like technology has changed the way you operate? And has this been a positive or negative impact? And will you use that moving forward? Let's start with you, okay?
I think I'm pretty good at technology now.
I heard that now.
My partner was at home at the time, so he's now my IT man. So yeah, it was difficult, and ordering everything you need online, and trying to light your face up and not have showers or whatever. It was very taxing. But I think that we're so used to it now. I mean, we had a whole year of that, right? And so it's easy to jump on a call. It's easy to, instead of going up to a meeting, driving 3 hours for a meeting, just get on a call. So I think it's going to stay. I think it's very productive, actually. And I think seeing somebody, I really like to be able to see somebody. You can see their expression, you can see their facial expressions to see if it's negative or positive. So I think that is a very important thing when you're especially doing design concept or talking to a client or potential client or a manufacturer.
Wonderful. Javar, would you like to answer?
Technology.
Yeah, I like it. No, I'm big, capturing clients' information. We're big on the full automation of, instant messaging with our clients. So, you check into your room, you get a text message on your phone. So basically supplementing for that one-on-one personal contact is what we're doing.
I love that.
Yeah,
I think we are a audience of instant gratification. Your
Right.
guests, your clients, your customers, all are instant gratification. They want that answer faster and faster. How about you, Elisa, with technology?
Well, for me, I think it was all about how do we do the best collaboration we can possibly do. And Lucid being a national network where we had already been a little bit ahead of the game because we would have a project manager in New York, a client in Dallas, and a project in Houston, and then another interior designer in Chicago. And so we were already kind of working as a virtual company. So we felt a little bit ahead of the game when everyone's like, oh my gosh, we gotta go home and work on the computer and figure out how to talk together. It's like, okay, it's just another day for us. So then what we did was say, okay, how can we collaborate even better? So we actually worked with a human behavior specialist that helped us in translating our messaging to one another. And she used, I don't know if you're familiar with mirror boards, but that wound up being a great tool for everyone to be able to virtually collaborate. So
Like a community, maybe like a little
yes,
community.
you could actually live, each person has the ability to work in it together. I'm not trying to sell, I have no stock in there, but just as a collaboration tool, having everyone be able to, jump in and work together and have a discussion together live, and then have a recording of what you did at the end that was a physical document.
That's incredible.
Okay,
Technology,
take it away.
I think that we were able to really sit back and help other hotels and brands rewrite their manuals for efficiencies. So we were able to walk through the process of like making a bed and looking at what the housekeepers do, and then helping them save a minute or 2 minutes to really take, again, that recalibration of really taking a look at what they had done. And virtually, by being on screen with them, they had time. They've never had time to really sit back and talk. The time was really wonderful. And Zoom, it is what it is. It became personable even though it was impersonal.
We're going to switch a little bit, and I am going to start with you, Rebecca, about supply chain. You'll take on a different perspective for each of our panelists. But you talked about costs going up in transportation, and supply chains have been impacted by that. We're going to talk about 2022. What do you see in this fourth quarter and into 2022 with supply chain management and controlling those?
I don't think we're going to see large improvement until maybe the end of 2022, early 23 to be realistic. When you look at really the international market and the international trade, you have a lot of electricity problems all over the world and blackouts. And then you have fiber costs, right? So I think that we have a very large supplier demand. Consumers are purchasing more. They didn't travel, so they are buying more consumer goods or home goods. So we have a very large demand both on the retail side as well as the hospitality contract side. And we just see a backup altogether, and we have a labor problem at the port. So a combination of all of those things, we're gridlocked. And so as a team, we all need to recalibrate. We all need to work together and be patient and plan accordingly to meet expectations.
We need pillows instead of pivot, recalibration. There you go. And I think we've all seen the videos of the Port of Houston and the Port of Los Angeles where they're backed up and can't get the containers off. A little bit different from a supply chain because you're trying to open facilities.
Yes.
You're trying to design, not only get samples, but then get the products installed. So coming forward, starting with you, Lisa, what about supply chain? How's that affecting your job and what do you see in the future?
So we were actually building our first casita ground up during this time period, and obviously the cost of materials had gone up, so we had to be really smart about waste, right? And really designing, thinking about how could we maximize the materials with the least amount of waste. So that was really a hot topic for us. And then we were also developing our first furniture line and starting to work with various fabricators and talking to them all over. We wound up going with several companies out of Mexico, just for obvious reasons, a little bit easier. We thought it could get here a little bit faster, which it is. Everything should be arriving in the next couple of weeks.
Grand opening party.
Yes, and now,
Here first.
well, it's interesting, and now as we're starting to think about the next level of products that we're going to be developing, because we still need more, we are thinking about more resources in the US and domestic, and that's something that, really thinking about that, and obviously it's great also for carbon footprint and all of that, so really thinking and starting to look at the makers, the local makers, and the domestic.
It is a maker
makers.
society,
So,
yes, and forced sustainability is what I'm hearing.
Yes, in a great way, which we've all been heading toward anyway, so, yeah. So, again, kind of lemons into lemonade, right?
Exactly. I mean, I'm seeing this theme of recalibration, pivoting, and turning that.
Yeah.
I call it limoncello. I'm just gonna go ahead and skip from lemonade to limoncello. Gail, what about you?
I've experienced delays in foam, actually, for reupholstery. A lot of furniture stuck on ships, like you said. My client's a wine distributor, he has wine stuck on ships. So we had a lot of pivoting towards reselections that are either local in stock. A lot of the furniture manufacturers, if they had a US-based manufacturing facility, we would pivot to that manufacturer. So it was really looking at the supply chain, what can we get now and when we needed it, could we wait? That was, so we really had to really micromanage it and took the fact of, can we wait this long for this product, or, can we go see site?
She broke the rules.
Sorry. Or can we, or should we just reselect? So that was kind of one of the situations where you decided to really look at what you had to offer, what was going to be backed up, and either reselect
or wait.
Or wait.
And patience.
And patience, yes, and, the clients, luckily my client understood, he was right in the thick of it. So a lot of that, I think a lot of our clients are very knowledgeable about what's happening, obviously, so they are sympathetic.
Okay, good. We hope so. We hope so.
Yes.
Now, you guys, again, you were opening a new hotel, new concept for the Heights area. Supply chain. I mean, even toilet paper man in a way. I don't know. What you got?
So you figure you have one of the worst economic downturns, in the nation's history. Obviously for hotels, it's horrible. It was worse than the Great Depression, right? And we couldn't find gunite for pools because of people building pools in their houses. I mean, this is just, one of those things. I sourced a lot of the stuff that, a lot of our FF&E from China, even Mexico, so you have to be creative with how you approach that, managing cost and, timelines.
Wow.
That was
Challenge.
It's very tough.
Any supply chain challenges with you, George?
I think Jamar hit on.
Good night. Wow, who
Yeah.
knew, right? We all wanted a pool. I love that.
All right, so kind of building on that, as an industry that depends on stable environment in order to successfully operate, how do societal and environmental changes impact you in the hospitality industry? Lisa, we'll start with you.
That's a
I know,
tough
sorry, guys.
one. Okay, Oprah.
I know. Let me dig deep. As an industry that depends on a stable environment in order to successfully operate, how do societal and environmental changes impact you in the hospitality industry?
So obviously with the pandemic and thinking about, it's interesting. So we do a lot of work, our collective in all different types of hospitality. And it was really interesting to look at how the club world was very, very different than the hospitality world. So hotels where you were just booking one night versus a club, which is much more membership based on communities and a trusted community that you feel connected and being a part of. We actually saw a trend and people feeling much more comfortable going back to their clubs before even going out to like a public restaurant. And so it was interesting, just again, kind of looking at the human behavior through the societal changes. So then what I started seeing then in the hotel world is them starting to take cues of this, of like, okay, really like-minded people like to be a part of certain communities. And so we started seeing hotels actually started offering certain memberships that were really targeting certain groups so that those groups would be smaller, very targeted, and then really giving the right experiences to that.
Yes.
It's not even a demographic or even psychographic anymore. It's like well beyond that. It's just that your most cultural communities is really what we were seeing the shift in of like,
That's
So I think
really interesting.
very deep and very.
What a great answer.
Fantastic. Maybe we'll repeat the question each time.
I know, you rose to that challenge. Okay, Rebecca, let's go with you.
I think that we looked really, from seed to sleep, really looking at recycling and the amount of packaging and paper goods that we had to get from something A to B, and if we could reduce any of the carbon footprint that we had, and are continuing to do so. And then really looking also at a factory level, just looking at how we recycle water, just the whole energy cycle of what we're doing and why.
That's wonderful. George?
Yeah, I mean, what we did at the hotel, which, just makes sure the economic sense is, we replaced the lighting, the LED lighting and, redid the roof and put more insulation. So those things are good for the environment, but also just cut costs and, help increase our profits. So.
Wonderful. Javar, societal?
On the societal.
Well,
I
societal
think
level?
I think adjusting to the rate of inflation with what the new norm for staffing would be. And it's just, that a housekeeper at $12 an hour is no longer available anymore. That's just a new norm, when we used to think that was high. not to say that they're not worth, whatever, it's just, just like anything else, you have to kind of, pick through the talent of any batch. And when there's a limited supply and, a huge demand, when things do ramp up, you have to have these people and you have to be able to incur those costs.
Correct.
All right, and Gail? Would you like to-
I'd say my environmental experience was more on a disaster front when my client is in Lake Charles, unfortunately. And so after 2 hurricanes, a flood, and a freeze, I just can't get this thing open. So anyway, so and then it was basically labor issues because we couldn't find contractors, we couldn't find anybody to work on the project. So we not only was there COVID happening, there was these environmental conditions that were affecting the actual labor on the market and then product. So it's just like this whole big layers of all these things that were happening. But it was patience, and so I think we all need to think of it like you said, the labor issues are real, and on ports, in the hotels, and in construction. So something that we all have to really think about and hopefully support in the future.
I love that. So I have a question, and this is going to be great for our audience as well as our guys on Facebook that are watching in right now. My question is, future, I'm going to start with Lisa. What are the future trends you're seeing in hospitality? Maybe because of what you did pivoting during the pandemic, or just in general, color, anything that you see as a trend in 2022 and beyond?
So experience design and really curated experiences. I say super like next level of curation. So we're talking about, we have a wellness component as part of our luxury destination. And so, but we're thinking next level of what unique people could we always bring to the property? So not just be on staff full time, but always hosting and bringing in, whether it's a wellness expert or a great musician or a great author from a book, that people are really looking for more experiences beyond just, relaxation, that they really want, they want to learn something when they go somewhere. They want to expand themselves. They want to stretch themselves. They're going to take every opportunity that they have when they go on a trip to leave better than they came.
Wow, I love that. How about you? What are some trends you're seeing?
I think that we're really looking at overall the sense of reusable and renewable things, whether that's a bag, whether that's slippers, the sensibility of the self within a space. So washing your hands, maybe it would be beautiful fountains for you to wash your hands when you walk into the place. So really going back and appealing to your 5 or 6 senses and having that so that you physically change when you come into that interior space. That gives you an internal transformation from the touch, checking your shoes at the door, putting slippers on. What does that sensory experience bring to you, and how the designers are really bringing this in?
I think I see a lot of heads nodding yes for both of your answers. Guys, trends at the hotel.
So maybe one trend I think that's out there, or I'm interested to watch how it plays out, is the fact that corporate America, a lot more companies in corporate America have adopted working remotely, and I think I did Deloitte or maybe KPMG permanently allows their employees to work remotely. So work kind of vacations, where people say, hey, I'm working from my house, why don't I just work remotely from some other part of the world? And so catering to that, corporate employee that used to go into an office but now can work from home and says, hey, I'm going to take a week and spend it in the Caribbean or in Mexico or some other place. And,
Sign me
yeah,
up.
so I think also there's a growing trend of people that are creatives and can make money off the internet, producing creative content, and so also catering to them as well to be inspired and kind of do a work vacation kind of concept I'll be interested to see how that plays out over the coming years.
Yeah, very good. Anything to add to that?
No,
You got it?
I think you said well.
I was recently on a vacation where I was sitting at a bar and somebody was adjusting the winnings at a casino from Mexico in Las Vegas. They were adjusting how tight the slots were. Real story. Gail, trends beyond 2021 into 2022.
I'm going to tag on to Rebecca, so we're hoping that it is sensory experiences, because to me, I feel like you, to target your audience, right, and differentiate yourself, you need to actually create that experience, right? So it has to be different from this hotel, it has to be different from this club, it has to be different from this wellness space. So I think really targeting in to who your audience is and who your client is, and your customer is, and then creating that sensory experience for them in all, that affects all the senses, like Rebecca said, is very important because it makes it a memorable experience, right? And then it'll make them come back if they come out, and then word of mouth is your best marketing. And so, it all just turns into a positive experience. So I think really paying attention to what you're designing and who your client is, and differentiating yourself to brand yourself in that direction is key.
I'm looking forward to my next vacation.
Yeah.
I'm like, this sounds amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so here's a fun question. Since Houston is a city notorious for tearing down the old and building the new, do you see any stronger potential for adaptive reuse post-pandemic? I know what I want people to do. Let's start with you, Rebecca.
Well, I'm not from Houston, so I bet we'll pass it on to the next one.
Gail, go for it. Because these guys, they did not tear down.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's probably, adaptive reuse is the future, especially with a lot of hotels that are not, they're not occupied. I can see turning into more of a multifamily type concept. And so I think, I had a client in New York that was looking at their hotels, trying to see if they're gonna convert and pivot into multifamily, and so converting those businesses into that space. So I'm not sure what Houston's future is in that arena, but I think that would be a great adaptive use for these hotels that are not being utilized or underutilized.
Well, I would say Javar and Georgia are pretty
The experts.
experts in that right
You
now.
write a
You
book right now, right?
want to touch on that?
Say that.
You want to touch on the adaptive space and the reusable?
Yeah, I think, as far as we're concerned, we felt like, the bones were there, and I love the nostalgic approach of that, that roadside motel that has those colors in the feel, and kind of brings you back to another time. I don't think there's anything else out there like it in Houston. So, there's always newer, there's always better, and as trends evolve, they get old real quick.
Yes.
I don't think our property will ever get old because we're already old. So it works out.
Works out perfectly, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Lisa?
Yeah, well, there's just an appreciation for the old, and so I have a funny story. So at our property, we have 3 old barns. And so the first thing we did was go ahead and kind of clean those up and renovate them. And then we had, but not, I say renovate, I mean, just lightly touched, just cleaned them up, put some gravel as the floor. And then we had an event, and I had literally people came and said, did you build this from scratch? Is this new, made to look old? And I was like, oh my gosh, we could never afford it. Because it was all recycled barn wood, these beautiful old barns, but we had just kind of inserted enough to kind of revive it, and for the experience inside of it to be something new and different and not feel old and tired.
That's special.
Yeah.
I am going to remind our audience here and our audience on Facebook out there in cyber world, you're welcome to ask any questions. You will pass your questions to Melissa right here. Do we have any coming up? We got a few. Good. So those will be up next. We have another question. All right. Are we wearing you down? We need a
These are great questions.
break. I have great answers. that we've been
Yeah,
hearing.
exactly.
So I've been hearing a lot of fun words, and these are some of the words I'm going to repeat at the end, but I heard recalibration, for being nimble. I think we heard the word material bank being used, right? We talked about cost increases in the supply chain. Time is very key. There's been hurdles of staffing and getting that, looking at procedures. I think Rebecca said, forced sustainability. I love that. That was really good. Curated experiences. This should be the bullet points for how we approach all of our jobs.
You
Sushi,
missed one,
what was that?
patience.
Patience.
Yes.
Yes, patience, I will write that down, and
Patience.
instant gratification. With all of that, those are all super positive things that have pretty much come out of that or recognized during the pandemic. I ask about what are the trends, but where are we going in just in general big picture design, guys? What is hot and next in the world of textiles, Rebecca? What you got on the docket?
I think that when we've created something called a sleeve, so you can use any CON goods where you can actually remove them and wash them at every turnout. So we all love decorative pillows. It is the perfect accent to everything and what the world has in common. So how do you make a decorative pillow that feels hygienically purposeful? So we've created something that I think can help everybody to do that. And I think that as we really move forward, we need to have active listening, to really listen to what the world and the people are saying to bring us all together.
I'm gonna write all of that down. And everybody gets a pillow. No. How about you?
I agree. I think it's the flexibility, right? So I don't think you're gonna have things as, I won't say over-designed, but hyper-designed, because I think that people are gonna wanna change more and morph more and pivot more with the times. So I think that there's gonna be a bit more of neutrality with flexibility. So for example, she used the pillow covers for our whole furnishing line that we're doing. Actually, there's like a solid base to everything we're creating, but then we have the flexibility of the cushions and the pads and everything that go on top of everything to be easily changed out, removable, washed for sanitary reasons, or just changed seasonally, so that you're always kind of keeping things fresh and moving and exciting.
I love that flexibility. I got that down. How about you? Yeah.
I think design should reflect wellness. And I think that's very important for us now, post-pandemic, was it pre-pandemic as well. But I think anything we can do to make a person's experience feel well, be well, see well, I think that is going to be the future. I think those spaces will be activated. I think that's important for people to be able to sit in a restaurant, feel like they're not being too close to someone, but they're still having a conversation and feel that energy still. So it's going to be a nice little balance of how we're going to design it these spaces. But I think that if we just focus on wellness and how our client experiences the space in those eyes, I think that's the future.
I love that. And I noticed she knows how she branded herself. All of her senses. All of her senses. That's another key word that I put in here. What's next for the hotel, guys? What can we come by and see soon?
So we're going to be starting out our experience packages. So basically, a guest would basically want to see what Houston has to offer. We have a brewery tour where we have a party bus taking you to all the breweries, do a day event, and come back and post party at the hotel. We have events planned all the way up till March of next year. Music
What is that?
as well.
Halloween.
Halloween.
We have a contest for your pups, your little dogs. Costume contest.
Oh.
Trying to get celebrities to be the judges, so we're gonna put that panel together, and then tonight we'll have the regular Halloween.
I just got chills. Y'all know I love dogs.
Can we read
Dog Halloween party, and then don't.
The adult one, right? I love that. I am signed up. I'm coming by. So guys, we're going to wrap up the panel, but we are going to answer the questions that we got from the audience. I am going to, while Sushi asked the first question, I'm going to check online, see if you got any questions.
Perfect.
Go for it, Sushi.
This first question is for George and Javar. In an era of boutique hotels, what gaps did you see in Houston area and how did that inspire you? What did you do differently?
Thought the gap that we, I think affordable luxury was the gap that we found in the hospitality industry. That wasn't there. The individualistic, style as well. So, like Houston, where it does in America is beautiful. All these hotels, there's always another level of luxury post-oak. These guys, that's not necessarily our client base, but it can be, right? But yeah, I think just being different and being affordable was our goal.
Good. That answer your question? Who was that? Does it say who wrote it?
It doesn't say who it was. Oh, it was you. Oh, Suzanne.
Suzanne.
Good question.
Good question. So I have a question for Gail and Lisa. How important are Zoom or virtual presentations for products? We talked a little bit about that. And how do we differentiate ourselves to be a beneficial presenter versus marketing? Your time is important and most people are zoomed out. So what could we do better?
I go first. To do better, let's see. I would say that the individual experience for the client is going to be always different from what I'm doing and what I'm presenting to him, right? So how could I make that better? Would be supplying him with everything that I could that would relate that, right? Digital, any kind of digital media, renderings, anything that can keep a client's, focus for 2 minutes is really good.
Because they want to get emails too.
Exactly. So it's really important that you be prepared and that you have all your, everything ready and that you can ease through the presentation. No, I have to find this floor plan or where, everything should be very, very, very coordinated. And so you can keep it on track and, and actually, respect their time as well. And so anything you can do digitally on a Zoom call that will save them time and to get your voice across, I think is the most important aspect in presentations.
Well, I was gonna say time, clients or the designers, we're back to not having any time again. So, it's how much information can you get to us in 5-10 minutes, succinct, we get it, especially if we've been around the block and seen everything, it doesn't take us long to understand, what things are.
I love that. And I have a friend that said it was hard not to get the client to look through all the samples before the presentation,
Oh,
right?
Of course.
Yes,
They have it.
They want to know and then they don't understand, right? So it's hard.
A box of toys is always fun.
Yeah.
Kids in a candy store, that's like the best way of
There-
communicating anything.
There's a
Just send them a bunch
tip
of
for the
pretty stuff.
manufacturing people, make it kids in the candy store. I love that. All right, another
This
question.
is a fun question. How can the hospitality industry cater to people wanting to work closer to home? People expecting more home-like amenities. How can we address this in design? Let's start with you, Lisa.
So they want they want hospitality amenities in the home?
I think they want home-like amenities in hospitality.
Home-like amenities. Yeah, I think that's already happening where the hospitality and the hotels are starting to feel more like homes, right? Or even people are acquiring more second home experiences. So rather than going on vacation and feeling like you're in a space that is, rotating 365 people a year, that when you go there, you feel welcomed into the place and space as if it is an extension of your own home.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Gail? We're throwing you off. What she said. That's perfect. All right, we are going to wrap up, but we do want to give any last comments that you'd like to share with our audience, both on Facebook and or in person. Rebecca, any last comments that you'd like to share?
I think that being able to take that experience home with you from the hotel, whether that's a hotel retail program, really helps people feel like they have a touch of it in their home.
Ooh, I love that.
Sassy. Sign me up.
I want that road.
I know. Guys, any parting words?
I encourage everybody to come visit us and hopefully you love the product as much as we do. And always go the interior designer route. I wish I would have met these ladies, a year ago.
That's probably the biggest takeaway today. Any parting words, George? You're not a designer, right? All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up with you too. Any last parting words?
I just want to say that I think we all should think of hospitality as one large community as well, and that we're not individual competitors. We are here to help and support each other. I really think that's important for our industry and our business, and you can contact me anytime.
This is the marketing part. of the
Yeah,
show.
no, I'm being sincere.
I love that. I love that.
Well, besides Farm at Will and Instagram, that I'd love for you all to take a look at. No, I think I was actually inspired before when you were talking, we were talking about all these curated experiences, that what's interesting is the hotel industry, I think, is gonna go beyond just the people staying in the hotel. And so you mentioned community. And so I think that that is what we're gonna see is much more of a crossover where people are integrating with programs and opportunities and experiences at the hotel, and they might just do it for the day. They might just come for the day or an evening. I don't think it's going to be only hotel guests that we're targeting those experiences for. It's guests plus your surrounding community.
I love that. So guys, we're gonna do a little wrap up and we wanna thank our studio audience. Thank you guys for being here. And let's give it up to our panelists. Again, we're gonna thank Rebecca with Down, etc. Lisa with Wellville and Lucid, got that right. Gail with Sensatory. And my friends here on my left here with Heights House Hotel. Did I get it right? Guys, thank you again for being here. We love you guys. And thank you, Melissa Davis. The trade show will be continuing today until 6 o'clock. There'll be a lot of door prizes. We hope to see y'all there. And I'm Kip.
And I'm Sushi.
And we'll see you very soon.